On a part of the road known as the Crankway, 20 or more feet of snow accumulates each winter. Before the days of heavy equipment, pure manpower opened up drifted parts of the road. Each spring as the tourist season approached, the road crew, armed only with shovels, would begin to move the mountain of snow that had accumulated in certain areas. Imagine facing a wall of snow 20 feet deep and 500 feet long, knowing it was your job to break through. This is what the early road crews faced year after year. Today, the job hasn't changed, just the methods for accomplishing it. Snowcats and backhoes have taken over where men with shovels once fought the elements, but it's still a lot of work every spring to put this mountain road back in order after a harsh North Country winter. The Mount Washington Auto Road is as much a destination today as it ever was. There seems to be an almost mythical allure that draws people to the mountain's towering heights. For some, it's an opportunity to reach the top of a major mountain and then quietly contemplate the beauty and majesty of the surroundings. For others, it's a place to make history by setting a new record or breaking a previous one. This has been the case since Darby Field set out to climb Mount Washington in 1642. Each generation brings a steady stream of challengers, and the areas of endeavor are as diverse and unique as the individuals who undertake them. Here's a sample of just a few records and record breakers throughout time. 1857. A man counts his steps walking to the top, 16,925. 1861. The road opens and Colonel Joseph Thompson drives the first horse-drawn vehicle up Mount Washington. 1875. Harland Amon runs down the road in 54 minutes. 1887. An all-time record for horse-drawn vehicles is set by Charles O'Hara with a time up of 1 hour and 9 minutes. 1899. Freeland O'Stanley drives the first automobile up the road in 2 hours and 10 minutes. 1904. Harry Harkness sets a record in the first Climb to the Clouds auto race of 24 minutes 37.6 seconds. 1907. The first recorded round trip is made on skis. 1923. The automobile hill climb record drops to 17 minutes flat, set by Ralph Mulford in a Chandler. 1924. A Harley-Davidson motorcycle ascends in 15 minutes. 1926. Arthur Walden drives the first dog team to the summit. 1932. Florence Clark becomes the first woman to drive a dog team solo to the summit. 1934. A world record wind of 231 miles per hour is recorded on the summit. 1938. An automobile record of 12 minutes and 17.6 seconds is set by Lem Ladd in a Ford V8 Special. 1950s. Alton Weagle of Walpole runs up the road, hikes up and down Tuckerman Ravine, and then rides the Cog Railway, a 30-mile trek, all in 14 hours. Weagle then goes on to climb the road barefoot and blindfolded, then backwards, then pushing a wheelbarrow carrying a 100-pound sack of sugar in it. 1975. An alternative energy regatta finds an odd assortment of vehicles powered by wood, steam, garbage, and chicken manure winding their way up Mount Washington. 1998. The Climb to the Clouds car race record drops to just 6 minutes 42 seconds, set by Frank Sprongel, driving an Audi Quattro. 2000. Thomas Danielson sets the still current bicycle hill climb record of 49 minutes 24 seconds. 2003. A Segway from Heritage, New Hampshire is ridden to the summit. 2004. Jonathan Wyatt set the still current foot race record of 56 minutes 41 seconds. 2010. Shawarge Amare becomes the fastest woman to run the road, setting a record time of 1 hour 8 minutes 21 seconds. 2017. Travis Pastrana shatters the Climb to the Clouds automobile record with an unimaginably quick time of just 5 minutes 44.72 seconds. Less scientific-minded have been those who have used roller skates, llamas, skateboards, and unicycles as a method to reach the top. One New Hampshire man even claims to hold the record for the most diverse array of ascents, hiking up as Darby Field in 1642 attire with Indian guides, riding up in the road's own 6-horse mountain wagon in a 1917 Pierce Arrow, a 1938 Ford Woody, a modern-day auto road van, a motorcycle, a race car, snowmobile, snowcat, snow coach, Jeep, and a convertible. It seems that every year someone shows up asking permission to use the road to be the first or the fastest at something on Mount Washington. In addition to the Climb to the Clouds race, annual events include the Mount Washington Road Race, a classic all-uphill foot race that draws a field of over 1,300 runners, the best of whom can run the grueling 7.6-mile course in under 1 hour. Cyclists also get their chance to conquer the mountain in the Mount Washington Auto Road Bicycle Hill Climb, where the current record stands at just under 50 minutes. You'll find a complete list of our upcoming events at mountwashingtonautoroad.com. You've now joined with the explorers, adventurers, competitors, climbers, families, and travelers from throughout time and around the world who have found themselves drawn to the top of this mountain, to the place the Native Americans called Agiococho. The memories you take with you are yours forever. Aside from the exciting drive, one of the most amazing aspects of the Mount Washington Auto Road is that it allows anyone of any age the opportunity to summit this legendary mountain. You've had the chance to sit with your friends and family, get some perspective on the world we live in from a place unlike any other. You've breathed in the cool mountain air and reflected on those who came before you and those who will come after, perhaps members of your own family. Enjoy the rest of your day and your vacation in the White Mountains. Visit us again sometime for another drive in your own vehicle or take a guided tour in one of our stages. When you reach the bottom, come across the street and take advantage of everything we offer at the base lodge. The Glenview Cafe has a spectacular view of the mountain you've just climbed and serves homemade soups, sandwiches, and other goodies. The Douglas A. Philbrook Red Barn Museum features horse-drawn and automotive stages on display, as well as historical memorabilia from the auto road's long history. If you're in the mood for some outdoor adventure, visit Great Glen Trails Outdoor Center, located on the ground floor of the base lodge. We have nearly 30 miles of trails to explore on bike or on foot, where you'll experience these magnificent surroundings in a whole different way. Bring your own bike or rent one of ours and enjoy the family-friendly trail system here at Great Glen Trails, all accessed right from the base lodge. During the winter months, these same great trails are meticulously groomed for cross-country skiing and snowshoeing and rated among the best Nordic ski areas in the world. If you're looking to spend some time on the water, the Outdoor Center offers half-day guided wildlife kayak tours on the pristine, placid waters of the Androscoggin River, just a few miles north of the Auto Road. For even more adventure, take a full day to explore the natural wonders of the Lake Umbagog National Wildlife Refuge. Our experienced and fun guides will take care of all the details, including instruction for any ability. And no vacation to the White Mountains would be complete without a stay at the Glen House Hotel. Located just north of the Auto Road entrance, the Glen House provides beautiful, eco-friendly accommodations with some of the best views in New England. Take a swim in the indoor pool, sip a cocktail in the tavern, and enjoy a great meal at the Notch Grill. And when you're ready to explore the unspoiled beauty of the Great Glen, on foot, bike, skis, or snowshoes, our family-friendly trail system is just steps from the back door. Lots more information online at theglenhouse.com. Well, that's about it. If you're not at the base area, you will be soon. We hope you've enjoyed your adventure above treeline, and thank you again for joining us today on our road to the sky. The Mount Washington Auto Road welcomes you to the heart of the White Mountains, where you're about to embark on an adventure to the highest peak in the Northeast. This is the birthplace of legends, and you'll be following a path that leads through time and winds its way through woods and weather extremes. At the summit lies the Mount Washington State Park, where you'll see the home of the Mount Washington Observatory and the historic Summit Stage Office, the building where a world record wind speed was recorded in 1934. More about that later. This audio tour will be your information and entertainment guide as you travel on the oldest man-made attraction in the United States. Your driving time to the top will be approximately 25 minutes, and this tour will be your guide to the remarkable views and amazing things that have happened here since the road opened to the public in 1861. Now, before we get to all the storytelling on how this legendary road came to be, and some of the extraordinary things folks have done on it, we have some pretty important information to pass along. Among the many wonders of Mount Washington, you'll be entering the Fragile Alpine Zone, home to numerous rare and unique forms of plants and flowers. There will be many opportunities to stop your car and walk around, so please take care to leave these special environments as you found them. It's only because others have been thoughtful in past generations that these small endangered treasures are still here for us to enjoy. If you watch your step, literally, future generations will have the same opportunity. Please only walk on the gravel trails and not on any vegetation. It's only through our continued stewardship that we can protect and preserve preserve these treasured resources. Just imagine that this road opened to the public in 1861, and the scenes which are about to unfold before you have remained unchanged since then. Also unchanged is the need for safe driving. The road's remarkable safety record over the past century and a half is because drivers, whether in horse-drawn vehicles of the old days or the motor vehicles of this century, respect the basic rules of safety, which apply both to the trip up and down Mount Washington. As you ascend the mountain and then descend after your visit to the summit, these driving tips will help maximize safety and minimize inconvenience. Please keep the following in mind as your journey continues. The Mount Washington Auto Road has two-way traffic coming and going at all times, and cars coming down should yield the right-of-way to cars going up. Keep to your side of the road, and don't worry, it's wide enough for two cars to pass anywhere along the road. We urge you to drive up in the normal gear you would use on the highway, usually drive or D, which will allow your transmission to normally shift as it needs to according to the grade of the road. Shift to a lower gear if your engine seems to be sluggish. Also refer to the driving suggestions you were given at the toll booths. On the way back down the mountain, be sure to use the lowest gear available in order for your transmission to help brake the car and help avoid overheating your brakes. If ever there was a road that was designed for low gear, this is it. Also, avoid using your air conditioner, as this may cause the engine to overwork. There will be plenty of cool mountain air to refresh you as you continue to gain elevation. If your vehicle does begin to run hot, turn on the heater. It may sound strange, but this will actually help cool the engine. Should you find yourself driving in the fog at any time while on the mountain, turn on your headlights for the sake of all oncoming traffic. And please remember, it's a New Hampshire state law that all persons under 18 years of age must wear a seatbelt. Mark Twain once said, "If you don't like the weather in New England, just wait a minute." Well, he must have been thinking of Mount Washington when he made this famous statement, because things can change quickly and dramatically around here. Depending on the road and weather conditions, you should maintain a speed of approximately 15 to 20 miles per hour. However, your actual speed will depend on the current traffic flow and the prevailing weather. If it seems like you're holding up cars behind you, please be considerate of others and stop at one of the many pull-off areas to allow them to pass. If for any reason you need assistance while on the road, flag down one of our white and green road crew pickup trucks or guided tour vans. Our drivers will be happy to help you in any way. Now, let's get to some storytelling about this amazing place. The creation of our Road to the Sky all began back in 1853 when the New Hampshire legislature granted a charter to General David O. Maycomber to build an 8-mile road to the summit. It was a challenging task he set for himself, to say the least, but he had a vision of how tourism would affect the area in the years to come. The White Mountains were beginning to gain a reputation as a vacation destination, with grand hotels being built to cater to wealthy travelers during the summer season. His path to the summit of Mount Washington would surely be the high point of any visit to the North Country. In fact, your presence here today confirms just how right he was. One of the first grand hotels was the iconic Glen House, which was located at the base area from which you began your climb. This hotel, along with 3 others which shared its name, all burned to the ground between 1884 and 1967. For many decades to follow, there was no lodging on the property, but after many years of planning, the latest Glen House opened for business in 2018. Like its predecessors, the new hotel caters to travelers looking for the ultimate White Mountain experience. Unlike the previous structures, however, the new Glen House represents the pinnacle of green building practices and eco-friendly accommodations. Feel free to stop in for a tour or a great meal when you get back to the base area. As you drive upward through the hardwood forest, try to imagine what the early road builders faced. Dense trees and underbrush, steep ridges, and immense boulders and ledges oppose the construction at every turn. This isn't a particularly inviting place to excavate a roadway, but no adversity would be too great if it resulted in the conquest of this famed peak. One young woman who visited the Glen House in 1854, Mary Langdon, explored the work in progress and wrote an article for Harper's Weekly magazine. In it, she recounted her memories of the road during its construction.
We have all been walking in the lowering twilight on the road, which is making its way up Mount Washington. Though nothing is impossible to modern science, it would seem impossible to vanquish the obstacles to the enterprise. The inevitable steepness of the ascent, the rocky precipices. We passed on through debris of blasted rocks, stumps of uprooted trees, and heaps of stones until we got far enough stern solitude.
And when that was written in 1854, they were still 7 years from completion. Unfortunately for General Maycomber, his financial backing ran out about halfway up the mountain. So, it ended up taking 2 companies years of backbreaking hand labor, blasting, logging, clearing, and grading to complete the task. During a 2-year delay after the first company failed, it was questionable as to whether or not the project would ever be completed. But the lure of Mount Washington was too great to keep this road from reaching the top. It was particularly difficult to make any progress when natural obstacles such as the weather combined with the primitive technology of the era to slow things down. Since dynamite had not yet been invented, all the blasting was done with black powder, a dangerous and at times unstable explosive. In order to split the massive rock ledges which blocked the way, individual holes were hand-drilled into solid rock and then filled with black powder, blown up or split apart one at a time. All the logging was done with axes, saws, and elbow grease. Teams of oxen and workhorses drew carts filled with gravel. All in all, it was a dirty, dangerous job, largely accomplished by immigrant labor working in a place not yet fit for man or beast. But finally, on August 8, 1861, the construction was done, and done right. Many decades later, in a study completed with aerial surveys and the latest technology, the Army Corps of Engineers could find no improvement to the route as laid out in the middle of the last century. Today, this toll road is still privately owned and operated by the Mount Washington Summit Road Company, and with very little change in ownership, has remained a family business since 1906. As you continue your ascent, glimpses of pristine mountain vistas begin to reveal themselves, but it wasn't always that way. In fact, around the turn of the century, logging barons had virtually clear-cut much of what is now the White Mountain National Forest. The decimation of these native forests created not only fire and erosion dangers, but created such an unsightly mess that the cause of conservation was taken up by politicians, downstream mill owners, and average citizens alike. As a result, the Weeks Act of 1911 established the White Mountain National Forest, among many others. These mountains remain protected today and stand as a reminder of the natural beauty of the wilderness. It's ironic, though, that it took the near destruction of everything that you see around you to motivate the effort to save it. Thankfully, what you see today is remarkably similar to what the first adventure seekers found in 1861. It was called the Mount Washington Carriage Road in those days, and there were as many as 25 mountain wagons and 120 horses in service each day of the season. These mountain wagons were specially designed and constructed for the carriage road by the Abbott Downing Company in Concord, New Hampshire. This company manufactured the famous Concord stagecoaches, which aside from being shipped worldwide for use in commerce and transportation, were used in practically every Western movie ever made. The carriage road mountain wagons were pulled by 6 horses and seated as many as 12 passengers. A typical trip took about 4 hours up, and though no one was in a rush in those days, passengers were at times asked to assist with one task. On windy days, those making the journey were asked to get out and collect rocks to add weight to the wagon so it wouldn't tip over in the strong winds above tree line. Though it is unmarked today, the halfway point along the road used to be a stopover for guests and horses in the old days. Here, the halfway house offered shelter and refreshments before the last long pull to the top. The ride down took 2 hours and was another adventure in itself. The steep grade and heavy loads meant that the stages wore through a set of leather brakes on every trip, as the horses, driver, and wagon fought gravity the whole way down. Also, the carriage road stages weren't alone on the road by any means. Individual hotels had their own coaches for their guests, while other folks drove the family buckboard or surrey, or rode on horseback. Then, as now, it was an active road that required the driver's full attention. As the word continued to spread, more and more people found their way to New Hampshire's North Country. New railroads continued to push their way past the lakes and into the hills, and while still a rural setting, the world had finally beaten a path to Mount Washington's doorstep. As you gain elevation, you'll begin to notice startling changes in the vegetation. Nearer to the bottom of the auto road is a typical northeastern hardwood forest, composed of maple, oak, birch, and beech trees. Further on, you'll see fewer hardwoods and more evergreens, such as balsam fir and spruce. More significantly, these trees are diminishing greatly in size, as the combination of wind, cold, and scarcity of proper soil create a difficult growing environment. Continuing upward, you are entering the Crumholes, or the Crooked Wood Zone. In some cases, these stunted and beautifully twisted and gnarled trees, with a height of only 2 or 3 feet, are more than 100 years old. These unique trees have adapted to survive in this often inhospitable location, as have a wide variety of wildlife that calls this mountain range home. Moose, black bear, and deer are among the larger species to be found near the bottom, while bobcat, beaver, porcupines, raccoons, foxes, coyotes, and countless types of birds can be found on Mount Washington's slopes.